Hello and welcome to everyone who cared about the last Isom video we did, and those who didn't and haven't seen it. We're once again going to be reading this series, I guess, because it was popular, and I guess people will like that about this Sci-Fi corner. We're going to get back to more Transformers stuff and more Barsoom stuff. Although don't worry, we might occasionally do the occasional superhero thing again, but we're trying to stick to mostly sci-fi stuff, which superhero is a subgenre of science fiction by its very nature. At the start of the story, Altona, I think it is, ends up in the elevator with a dude. I'm not sure if he's a guard or not. And she ends up discovering in her office the gangster from last time. And of course, they exchange some small talk. He slaps her because it's the thing to do. And of course, some other guy with soldiers arrives. I have no idea where Lincoln Bio came from, but only thing I can say is that I noticed the names Lincoln and EU in there, and I can already tell you it's probably not. He's not my kind of character already, if only based on that fact. And I know someone's going to go, oh, just because of that? Yeah, it's just...
I don't know where the name came from.
Yeah, but I assume it's out of... I'm joking. Like, honestly, we're told, don't... He ends up saying, don't worry about your daughter, and I didn't even know it was Altona's daughter. I thought that the girl from last time was someone else's daughter. And that Altona was... Okay, I will admit I'm a little confused by the character relationships. And then we get a years ago thing, which we got to bear in mind that the first issue started with the 2 weeks ago. Then we're forward. Is this a case where it's like Linkara sometimes says, it's Miller time, where you don't know where in the time-space continuum it is? Because that, I really don't care for that side of comic book writing.
And it's as the one beer company that had that motto. It's Miller time. Makes you want to drink, probably.
Yeah. But years ago, Isom fought a gray-skinned guy trying to kill a few kids, I guess, and it ends up happening that he lost the fight and was outmatched and didn't know how to deal with it, so he basically quit, which that's actually rather lackluster. I will criticize that because it showcases the hero lacks willpower. And the reason I'm going to say it shows that he lacks willpower because, it wasn't... Yeah, I know it's a very normal kind of reaction to an extent, but for superheroes who are supposed to be grander than life, you want something more than just, well, see, I lost, so I quit. No, you'd want something like what happened to Hal Jordan, where all of Coast City was destroyed, and he decides, I can't do this, I need to lose myself in the crowd, and because my entire city was destroyed, and I failed. That's a pretty big deal. You have, when Ben Reilly, or in the Clone Saga, he was the actual Peter Parker, during that storyline, up until the 1997 Spider-Man reboot, and Marvel reboot, which was Dom. The idea was that the reason Peter Parker quit being Spider-Man and quit New York is because he believed he was the clone. In reality, he wasn't, and he took up the new name Ben Reilly. And I know people will say the Clone Saga was very confusing. Yeah, it could be. But the writing was really good. And if you say no, it wasn't, yeah, it was. Best writing Spider-Man ever had. Look at any other era, and you'll find that they never quite compare. So, and I know people will say that's a controversial statement. Well, this is supposed to be a controversial video, so why not release some controversial statements along the way? But all I'm going to say is that this is honestly a pretty weird issue, as I often just end up wondering when events are taking place. Like, we're clearly not in the 2 weeks phase anymore. We look at years ago, then we look at now, and of course we have the Alpha Core, whom I'm still wondering which side they're on. It's not entirely clear. And the thing is, like I said, you have, but after the ranch burns down, Isom ends up deciding to investigate a weird haunted castle locale, which I'm skipping over everything that happens in the middle because it's not important or interesting. And I know some people will disagree. If you like it, you like it. Love what you love. But I just found that I didn't really care about that middle stuff too much. And yeah, we really don't. I guess it's because I'm still wondering, what about the young woman who was essentially captured by the crime lord and who rebuffed Isom's efforts to help her? Are we still on that plot? Because it doesn't seem like that's relevant to the story anymore, because Isom just goes off on another quest to go deal with Mr. Gooding's errand, which sees him team up with a supernatural character and deal with a bunch of monsters. And then we've got, I'm just left going, what about the crime boss? What about the whole fact that there's a girl who has been she's being sold and passed around. You know what I mean. I'm not able to actually say it in the exact terms because of YouTube. But I'm just frustrated because I'm left going, what about her? Is that plot still going? Because Avery's sister got slapped because of meddling involved in that girl. So to deal with that problem, Avery's going to go deal with a completely different problem and a different side quest. Are we playing Champions Online here? Does he have a list of missions and he's just decided, this one, I've got a bit of a... It's hit a bit of a dead end, so I'm going to go on this other quest. Narratively, you need to have him pursue this plot line with this girl all the way through. Maybe that should have... I'm just left confused. And maybe it's because I haven't had much sleep in the past little while, but I'm confused.
This is the exact same reason why I dropped Nighthawk. Because here it is. His mother was a judge. There was a crime lord involved. Blew up the car with one of her one of Nighthawk's twin brothers in it. He's in the hospital.
Clearly, that's a
That-
relevant plot point.
No, he goes after Venom.
What does Venom have to do with this?
Absolutely nothing. And then there's an entire side quest where he loses the power of his one gem that prevents him from transforming back. It's like, that has nothing to do with the plot.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you need to stick to the main plot.
But here's where I will compliment bande dessinée and Japanese anime manga. What they tend to do is they tie it together. And this is not an easy thing to do for a great many writers because tying plot lines together and whatnot, writing is hard work. And when I say that, I don't mean physically, I mean mentally. It's hard stuff doing all this. But the truth of the matter is that this plot feels only at the barest connected. And I know he's supposed to be doing a favor for Gooding, a friend of his, but the favor has nothing to do with what he's originally trying to do. So it seems that the girl who's being sold around is not important to Isom. So when he said, I couldn't look her mother in the eye, Mrs. Newman in the eye, if something happened to her daughter. Well, I guess he could. Either that or he doesn't plan to visit Mrs. Newman anytime soon because clearly it didn't matter to him. So, like, where last time was mediocre, this time I find myself confused, frustrated, and generally indifferent. And the art's not as good at a few points. And I'm not going to bash or go over the castle art, which, like with the car and whatnot. People bash that enough on Twitter that I find, okay, guys. Yeah, okay. I would not draw it that way. Most, and professional artists who are much better than me, would not draw it that way. We get it. Move on. Most of the art is pretty good and consistent with the previous issue. But the writing needs some work. And I know this is supposed to be superheroes, and superheroes does not always have the best writing because it's superheroes stuff. And if anyone says, well, you're just saying that because you're not a fan, it's because I'm not. The only thing I'm a fan of really is the Spider-Man cartoon series and the old 62 to 97 thereabouts era of Spider-Man, and I guess the Jeff Jones run of Green Lantern and a couple of the other superheroes, and the death of Superman stuff. That stuff's what I like. And I guess Under the Red Hood. So I do like some superhero stuff, but I like it when it's good. When it's not, come on.
This hodgepodge mess
thing is not fun.
It's like,
find a plot point and stick with it. Like, Conan the Barbarian by Titan Comics has Conan chasing after the zombie apocalypse plot thread. It doesn't suddenly veer off and have him, I don't know, chasing a princess who's escaped the castle and needing rescue. No, you'd be left going, wait, why are we dealing with bandits who having kidnapped a princess when there's still a zombie apocalypse? You'd be really confused. Well, clearly the zombie apocalypse isn't a very important factor if he can go off and deal with bandits, is my point. It's that exact same thing, except reverse. Clearly this issue was released to time in with October due to the whole monster thing and Halloween. Clearly this is a Halloween special. But if you're going to do that, release just a special issue for Halloween. But it's just not really an interesting run here by issue 2. Issue 1 was mediocre. This one's just rushed with the writing and side quest galore. And what I was hoping for would be at least an interesting investigation. And sure, this thing has made a lot of money, but artistically, it's dull. So you can take that as it is, and if you disagree, that's fine. But for all the hype it's gotten, I just don't get it. I don't find it terribly controversial. I don't find it terribly interesting. So, yeah. Let's rate this. Between 0, which is beyond the pall terrible, and 4, which is perfection.
0. Why bother rating this?
Okay, I was going to be a little more generous, but when you put it that way...
There is
Yeah.
no consistency. We don't know where anything is at.
The female characters are hot, but that's about the only thing I can say I like. Like, the chick with the cowboy hat and with the magic powers I like, only because she's hot. But outside that, it's like, I really don't care.
No consistency. Nothing tied in with the first issue's plot.
Maybe the storyline should have started with more cues taken from the Monster manga, which is one of the finest and most well-written comics of all times. It's a manga which takes place in the setting of 1987 or 89, thereabouts, and is about the post-war, or post-Berlin Wall, I should say, period. Well, it was post-Cold War, actually, I should say, so post-war. But it's basically set in that Germany, and it's a very, very dark take, and it's very interesting. And the only reason I say cues can be taken is to show us, the established a plot in a different way. And it is possible to do a dramatic drop into the story, like what Monster did. And yet, I think that an origin story should have probably been where it started. Maybe something like a Peter Parker origin story or something. That's probably the greatest origin story I find of all times in hindsight. That or Superman. Superman had a great one. But we're also seeing a lot of heroes suddenly crammed in. I have no idea how Alpha Core times in with the Isom plot. They don't even talk about Isom. They don't care about Isom. They're focused on Yera. How does Yera interact with the Isom plot? I have no idea. So overall, this is not a very good story. This was terrible. I have nothing positive, I think, to say. Now, if you disagree, more power to you. Good for you. I just find this head scratching. Now, on the other hand, if there's any other Comicsgate superhero stuff people want to recommend us, we'll read it, but just expect us to be a little harsh. Dan's a bit more the superhero fan, but he has higher standards than most for superheroes. I'm actually a superhero hater at this point because ever since 2013, I've gotten superhero fatigue. So just be warned, we're going to be very harsh. If you recommend anything you've created, we're going to be very harsh with our review. And I think that'll be helpful, but any criticism we level will be coming from a place of respect for you because criticism is a show of love, after all. So remain cool, take care, and don't forget to smash that like and that subscribe button if you enjoyed this video. And if you didn't, still smash that like and that subscribe button.